Hey planner friends, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be my fountain pen ink collection. Alright, so here we have my Hobonichi Weeks and my Pilot Iro Atushi dip pen, and I'm going to use this for all of the swatches, and we're just going to kind of go through them. I will preface this by saying that I have a large collection of very specific shades of colours, and you will start to see what kind of colours that I like. But the main reason I wanted to do this today is because I was starting to feel the itch to buy some more ink, which is terrible because honestly I don't think I could ever get through all the ink that I already own. So I thought it'd be a great idea to go through my inks, kind of catalogue them, look at them again, because some of them I haven't really looked at in a while, and hopefully that will inspire me to use what I have rather than purchase more. Alright, so we're going to start with the first one, which is probably the most different in terms of like colour family, and it's one of my most recent additions. It's Robert Oster and the Coffee Monster Co. collaboration in the shade Coffee Monster. So I'm actually going to bring you guys right on in here so you can see. Alright, up close and personal. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to dip in with a back, and then we'll get like a nice swatch of it. I really was looking for a brown ink, and actually before Helen announced that she was going to do, that she had this collaboration coming, I really wanted to buy a full bottle of Ferris wheel press steeped umber. I had a sample of it. Actually, I'm going to use just a sheet of paper because I have really clammy hands and I don't want like the oils of my hands to go into the paper and affect the ink. But yeah, I really did want to buy Ferris wheel press steeped umber because I had a sample of it and I fully used it up. And I really love the shade of that brown. I actually kind of prefer it to this one, and I wish that I would have maybe looked at this one more carefully before I purchased it. Not that I don't like it, but it definitely dries down, especially in finer inks with a more greeny yellow undertone, whereas steeped umber is a more reddy orangey undertone, and I just kind of prefer that undertone in my brown. You can kind of see it already up here. It's a bit more yellowy in colour, but that's on me. I do really like this ink. It's nothing against this ink, it's just not my preference of browns. That being said, I will still use it. I have this one inked in my Platinum Shape of Heart fountain pen. Alright, so the next colour family we're going to move on to is pinks. We'll start with this one. It's by Sailor. Actually, you'll also notice that most of my inks are by Sailor. I purchased most of them in Japan when we went in 2022, so a couple years ago now. My tastes have sort of changed since then, but also not really. But I really do just love Sailor inks. I think they're some of the best writers. They're just so smooth, and I've never had a problem with them before. Also, since I do love my Sailor fountain pens, I just think it's fun to put Sailor inks in Sailor fountain pens. I know it's not that big of a deal, but it makes me happy. That's what matters, right? Alright, so this one is Kitsune Biori. This is from the Sailor Yurameku line, which is known for its like shading qualities. So it looks kind of different as it dries down, and if you have a broader nib it'll kind of show the properties a bit more. But as you'll notice with my swatches, because I'm using a fine nib, the finer the nib, you kind of lose a lot of the qualities that make the Yurameku inks so special. So as you can see, this one almost looks a bit brown on the paper when it first goes down, especially in like large samples, but the writing here is almost like a creamy pink colour. I really do like it. I don't use it as much as I wish I did, but it's a stunning ink. So that's Kitsune Biori. I also think it's funny because the swatches on the side are stunning, but it doesn't really look anything like that in my opinion. But I suppose that's just kind of the way it is when it comes to ink swatches on packaging. Alright, my next pink is by Ferris Wheel Press. It's in the shade Lady Rose. This is one of my favourites. I did also have a sample of this one, and I loved it so much that when I saw Ferris Wheel Press in Japan, I really had to jump on it. I think the packaging is stunning. They really did get me with the packaging. It's just so fun. I think they've done a really good job with their marketing for sure. Alright, so I'm just going to dip in. And again, I'm going to do a nice little swatch. I really love this shade of pink. I think it's really pretty. This one to me feels more of like a rosy pink, I would say. But it is very pale. I do have a tendency toward pale inks, which you will notice. So this one is in the shade Lady Rose. I do think that Ferris Wheel Press inks also have the tendency to write quite dry, and luckily this one is not the most dry writer, so I've had pretty good luck with this one. But generally speaking, their darker colours tend to perform a bit better than their lighter colours. So if you like using fine nibs, I would probably stick to some of their darker colours like Steeped Umber or Spruce County Post. They'll probably do a bit better. Alright, the next one is another pink. This one is from Tag Stationery and it's in the shade Umanezu. This one I saw in Atoya and I really couldn't resist getting it. I saw the swatch and I fell in love. This colour is right up my alley. My only issue with this one is that this one's an incredibly dry writer. I've since learned that these Tag Stationery inks do tend to be more dry writers, and again, because I'm more of a fine nib person, it just did not work for me, really. I inked this one up in my Pilot Decimo and it was too dry. I had so many hard starts, I couldn't write more than a sentence with it, so I ended up flushing it out and switching it out for a different ink because it was just far too dry. So this one really doesn't get as much love as I wish it did, because it is such a fun colour. Definitely one of my favourites, but just doesn't work with any of my pens really, so I haven't touched it in a while, which is quite unfortunate. But yeah, you'll see when it dries down too, it's such a stunning colour. Alright, now moving into like pinky purples. This is my all-time favourite ink. If my entire ink collection disappeared tomorrow and I could only buy one ink to replace it, I would pick this one. It is Sailor from the Shikiori line, and it's in the colour Yozakura. This colour is stunning. It's the colour that I have inked in my Kubo Zakura Bloom, my Hachimonjia Sailor Progi, but this is my favourite colour ever. I think this is probably one of the only inks that I will ever finish, purely because of how much I love it. And that's the thing that I love about Sailor too. I've consistently had really good luck with them in my pens. They're just such beautiful, consistent writers. And I really have never had an issue, so for that reason alone, I will continue to buy Sailor inks. They're just so reliable and they're a bit more pricey, but I think it's worth it because I just know that they're going to perform really well. Also, they've got some really impressive like color ranges, so I like that as well. Alright, so that's Yozakura. If you take one thing from this video, it would be my recommendation for you to buy this ink if you love pinky purple colors. It is my favorite, or at least get a sample of it. Alright, along a similar vein, this is another one of my newest inks. It's again the Robert Oster and Coffee Monsters co-collaboration, and this color is Day to Night. I would describe this color as the older sister, the older, more moody sister of Sailor Yozakura. You'll see what I mean here in just a second. I actually really do like this color as well. And the thing about Robert Oster inks is that they write really wet. So you'll have a really good writing experience with them. But if you have more fine nibs or like more small handwriting, you'll probably notice that your writing will feather a bit more, or your letters won't be as clean. You'll kind of see it here actually, because I tend to write pretty small, and this is a fine nib, and that's very wet. Like you can see here, my letters are kind of struggling a bit, but it's a very nice writer. I can't fault it, it's very smooth, but indeed very wet. But you see what I mean about these being quite similar in colour. This one's just a bit darker, so if you've got this one already, don't try that one, or don't feel like you need to, but if you want a recommendation from me, it's this one. So yeah, I do like that one too. Alright, we're gonna move on now, and I'm gonna go a little bit backwards, I suppose. So yet another Sailor ink. This one's another Yuramaku. This is from the Yuramaku Part 2 collection. It's the second part of the series they did, and these were actually released when we went to Japan. They weren't available in any other country other than Japan, so of course I had to buy them. Obviously you can get them at international retailers now, but these just came out and I couldn't resist. I needed to have it, so of course I bought it. I really like these ones. The shading in these is so much more prominent than the first part of the series, and I think it's because the colours in the second part of the series are just much darker in nature. So this one's like a purple blue shift. It's really pretty. It looks really blue on camera, but I think when it dries down you'll see a bit more of the purple. Oh, and I forgot to say, this is in the shade Date Gokuro. Again, really gorgeous writer. So smooth. I feel like generally speaking the darker colours tend to be easier to write with, probably just due to the pigmentation. It's a lot easier to make them more wet, but that's just speculation on my part. Okay, the next ink we're going to do, I'm going to kind of switch it up a bit. Not too much though, because it's still a Sailor. This is from the Shikiori line. And this is a really, really, really bright purple. This is probably one of my brightest inks. It's in the shade Fuji Sugata. I love this one as well. I actually bought this one to match my custom fountain pen that I made at the Ancora store in Ginza in Japan. I'll actually show you the two together after I do the swatch, because I just think it's such a perfect match. Very proud of it. I think this one kind of pushed me out of my comfort zone a little bit, but it's stunning. Alright. Just really bright, really pretty purple. I feel like I've said the word pretty and cute too many times already. But yeah, as you can see, it matches the transparent lid, and I just feel like this ink and this pen is a really fun combo. So whenever I run out of Potsu in here, I'm gonna put this ink back in it. Okay, now we're gonna move on to the other page. I'm just gonna take this clip out, and we're gonna start with the next color, which I really love. This is also currently inked in one of my fountain pens. But the thing about this ink that's crazy to me, so I'll just show you the ink first. It's Sailor Manyo from the Manyo line in the color Neko Yanagi. Super popular one, actually. This is in my Grateful Crane Pro Year Slim. The thing about this ink that I find insane is that it's 50 mils, which, like, one of the Shikiori ones is 20 mils, and I feel like I'm already going to struggle to use all of this. How am I ever going to use 50 mils of this ink? Like, if you have any ideas, I would love to hear them, or if you finished a Manyo ink from Sailor, let me know how, because I don't think I'm ever going to use it all. And I've heard with this ink in particular, if you're not careful, the color changes in the bottle. Like, it changes from the color that it'll show up when I show you the swatch to like a bluey greeny color, and I really don't want that to happen, but I don't know, I'm kind of scared. And I think that that's something that I forget when buying inks. Like, it's so easy to just keep pressing add to cart, and then you've kind of got like liters of ink basically, and just like, I don't know when I'm ever going to use it all. Or like, I'm scared that by the time I go to use it, the properties of it will have changed and it's not going to be the same anymore. But anyway, that's just a thought that I've been having recently when it comes to inks. But this one is stunning. I really love this color. It is a bit light, and sometimes it can be more difficult to read depending on what size nib you have it in. But again, I think that's just a trend across all of the colors that I have. I tend to go for ones that are more light. Alright, so that's Neko Yanagi. The next color I'm going to show you is going to be yet another Sailor ink. And again, this is from the Yurameku line, and it's in the shade Kyoku. Here it is. This one is one of those ones that I really like. It's like a blue, green, grey kind of color, but I will say the legibility on this one in particular is not the greatest. I find this one quite difficult to read in finer nibs, and you'll probably see that in the swatch. So if you have not the greatest eyesight, I would probably steer quite clear from this ink. I feel like, again, these inks also perform slightly differently in the Hobonichi Cousin, obviously because the Weeks has I'm so sorry if you hear the background noise. It's a weekend and I think someone's having a party, so there's lots of screaming going on outside. But as I was saying, these inks do perform very differently in the Weeks versus the Cousin, just because the Weeks is on cream paper. But that's Kyoku. And then the last bluish colour that I have is this one. It's Kier Iro Soft Snow of Ohara. I had a sample of this one that I used up before I went to Japan, so when I saw this ink in person, I had to buy it. I think that this is a really fun office-friendly colour. To me, it is like a bluish purple, so it's like a boring blue but with a hint of fun. I really like this one. I also just like how well it writes. So pretty. And then again, this one's Kier Iro Soft Snow of Ohara. If I needed an ink for work, this would be it. This would 100% be the one. Alright, and then on that note, I only have 2 more inks left to show you. Both sailors. Are we surprised? Probably not. The first one is Sailor Shikiori in Waka Uguisu. This is like a true apple green. I really like this one. I don't use it as much as I would like to, but now that it's spring, I might try and ink this one up and get some use out of it. Especially since we're heading into the holiday season, I feel like it could be a fun ode to Christmas, as it were. I actually really do like green inks. I think recently I've been gravitating towards green in general. Normally more of a sage green, but this one I like. I think I really like this one because it's quite legible as well. I will also say I like this ink and Yozakura so much that I own the Shikiori Sailor brush pens in these colours as well, so I don't know if that means anything to you, but I really like these colours. Okay, and then my last ink is again another Sailor, and it's from the Yurameku Part 2, and it's in the shade Tsuki Kokoro. This one is like a bluish greenish colour. Here it is. That was my cat Carrot. Oh, she's talking. I wonder what she's saying. Maybe she's trying to tell me which fountain pen ink is her favourite. She's an orange cat, so... Oh, I don't really have any oranges in my collection. Maybe green for the green part of the carrot? Maybe you should go for the one that we just swatched. I think that's what she's trying to say. Alright, this one I think is a really nice colour too. It's like a bluish green. And that's that one. On camera at the moment it actually looks black almost. I promise it's not, especially when it dries down, but unfortunately that's kind of how it's coming across. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to zoom out. Oh, I will also say I do own a bottle of black ink. It's just Sailor Black. I don't really feel like I need to swatch it because it's just black. There's nothing exciting about it. It's my favourite black ink though. it came as a cartridge with my Grateful Crane Pro Gear Slim. I used up the entire cartridge and I didn't want to be without it, so I bought a whole bottle. But yeah, so this is my entire collection of fountain pen inks. Kind of give you a close-up just so you can kind of see how they've dried down. Oh, so you can really see the shading and the sheen on Date Kokoro. And that'll come up in Suki Kokoro as well. There's a bit of a sheen with Kyoku. Quite nice shading on that one. And Neko Yanagi. Just gorgeous. I actually do have these swatched, and the swatches are dry, so I will show you guys what they look like dry. Just give me 1 second. Okay, so here's everything fully dried. See, that one's definitely like a dark blue, dark green. It's almost got a bit of red sheen to it. And just look how pretty Yozakura is. Definitely my favorite by far. So yeah, that's how everything looks dry. That's my entire fountain pen ink collection. And then to refresh your memory, this is kind of where we're at with it wet. But yeah, thank you guys so much for joining me as I swatch my entire fountain pen ink collection. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you give it a thumbs up and leave a comment down below letting me know which one of my inks is your favorite, or let me know which ink is your favorite and that I should try. Because like I said at the beginning of the video, I am feeling the temptation creep back in. Again, thank you so much for watching, and make sure you subscribe for more content from me. See you next time.